Today is the election day of the United States, and I think the election will have a great impact for all the market in the world. Welcome back. My name is Chui. This is your trading and investing channel, Blockchain Thunder. Welcome back to the channel. In this special edition of the video, we are going to talk about very interesting and both bullish and bearish signals in very different markets. So let's dive right into it. First of all, let's start with the cryptocurrency market. And as usual, let's start with Bitcoin. And this is the Bitcoin weekly chart. As I mentioned in my previous video, Bitcoin is at the last hurdle towards the all-time high. And this is the last resistance that Bitcoin has. And after Bitcoin breaks through this level, there will be nothing to stop Bitcoin towards the all-time high and possibly make another new all-time high. Now let's take a look at the details of the candles. If I look at it carefully, last time when we get to this level, we have a very bearish candle, which is a gravestone doji. And after that, we have been in a very long-term downtrend. And here we have a large coronavirus dump. And after that, Bitcoin has been in a very consistent uptrend. And we were able to close for the weekly candle above the 12,500 level, which is very important because the only other time that Bitcoin was able to close above this level is at 2017. And one even more bullish signal is at the monthly. So let's take a look at the monthly. You can see that we just closed the second highest candle in Bitcoin's history. The last one is at 2017. So this is really bullish. It looks like we are just one step away to break this level. Now let's take a look at the details. On the weekly chart, last week we made a high of 14,089. That is a higher high compared to the last high at 2019. So that is a higher high. And this is a higher low, which means Bitcoin officially entering a very bullish uptrend. The weekly RSI is at about 72. This is relatively high. So I expect there will be some consolidations in the near term so that we can collect more momentum to go to the upside. And if you take a look at the daily chart, on the daily chart, we have a series of downside weeks. If you see, take a look at these weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We haven't closed the candle today yet, but it looks like we have a basic structure for the buying momentums from the downside. And it looks like it's really difficult for the bears to push the price down at the moment. Now let's take a look at the RSI. If I magnify the RSI here, magnified it, and then we can draw a line here at the top, and then we push this line down like this. Let me adjust the line so that you guys can see more clearly. And this one, let's make it green, and this one is also make it green. Now let's come back to this chart. You can see that the price is going up, but RSI is going down. This is a bearish divergence. However, the interesting thing is we now have two touch points. You can see that we have one touch point, two touch points on this line. And there is a possibility that Bitcoin can break this line and then come back down again. This is a great consolidation for the bulls. So if the bulls can push the RSI up and break this line and then come back down and test it again, it will be very bullish for the bulls in the short term and in the mid term. In my last video, I talked about when the RSI reaches 83. I said normally I will be selling no matter it is cryptocurrency or stock. But this is different this time. That's because the BitMEX index funding are negative, are all negative bars on the daily. And that is very important and very bullish signal that I shouldn't sell the cryptocurrency yet. If we compare that what happened last time at around October 20th, at that time we have all positive bars and Bitcoin have a large huge dump to the downside. At that time, Bitcoin has a high of RSI about 85. That is really high. It's even higher than this one. But the BitMEX index funding was positive. That was really dangerous. I will sell everything I have at that time. But this time is different. BitMEX index funding is in negative bars, which means the bulls are still collecting and bulls are still trying to push the price above this last resistance we have. Once we get across this resistance, Bitcoin will run towards the all-time high really fast. So this is why I'm not selling at the moment. But because of this bearish divergence, I suspect Bitcoin might still have a short-term consolidation ahead. Maybe this week or maybe also next week. And if we take a look at the 4-hourly, you can see that most of the time we have the BitMEX index funding in negative bars, especially this week. And if we adjust this line, let's put it something like here, put it here, something like this, you can see that Bitcoin is trying to break through this resistance line. We have 1 touch point, 2 touch point, 3 touch point, 4, and we are close to the 5th one. And when we break this line to the upside, there's a high possibility that Bitcoin can get across this resistance. Something concerning to some people is that right now Bitcoin has head and shoulder pattern showing up on the 4-hourly. So we have these 2 shoulders and 1 head here. So compared to last time, we also have head and shoulder, something like this. So this is very similar to last time. However, the BitMEX index funding is different. Last time we are here, most of the time we are at positive bars. That was really dangerous. But right now we are at negative bars, which means there is a good chance that the bulls can break this pattern and push the price to the upside. This is why I'm very bullish for Bitcoin at the moment. Now let's take a look at the altcoin markets. In my previous videos, I put on 2 different warnings for the altcoin holders. That's because based on the Bitcoin dominance, I predicted that Bitcoin might have a good chance to break to the upside and it will take back some of the dominance, even a lot of dominance from the altcoins. So altcoin will be having a bleeding period. And right now, this has become a great reality for the altcoin holders. The Bitcoin dominance just skyrocketing these days to the upside. And if we take a look at the altcoin markets, both Ethereum, Uniswap, YFI, CRO, BNB, CRV, all these important altcoin, DeFi altcoins are having a really huge bloodbath for the last several weeks. But I'm not a Bitcoin maximumist. I'm also not an altcoin maximumist. So what I see is that Bitcoin will have a great run in the next few weeks, but altcoins might lose a lot of blood during this period. But it doesn't mean that altcoins will be down forever. If we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, you can see that right now the RSI is at 75. It's pretty high. So I expect in the next few weeks, when the RSI can get to about 80 or 90, there's a high possibility that the Bitcoin will be dragged down a little bit of the price, and then the dominance will also begin to decline. I expect that in the next few weeks, after Bitcoin gets through the $14,000, there's a good chance that Bitcoin might pull back and consolidate. And then the Bitcoin dominance might also have a decline period and giving a breathe room for altcoins. So if you are still holding a lot of altcoins, hold on tight. Your chance might be on the way. So what is the impact of the United States election to the Bitcoin market? I actually don't know, because based on the technical analysis, Bitcoin is really bullish. And no matter who gets to become the next president of the United States, I think they all have to do one thing, that is to inject a lot of money into the market to save the economy. And this could be a huge propulsion for Bitcoin to the upside. So I think the United States election is very bullish for the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. Now let's take a look at the stock market. As usual, let's start with the Fear and Greed Index. So one interesting thing is right now the Fear and Greed Index for stock, we have formed a head and shoulder pattern on the Fear and Greed. So we have a head here, and we have shoulder here and a shoulder here, and we have break the neckline, which is at around 40. So right now we break it to the downside and we reach about 28 or 29. Right now we have a small bounce back, and I expect in the next several days this Fear and Greed Index will revisit this neckline at around 40, and then what happens, I don't know yet. Now for a head and shoulder pattern, normally it will be reaching something as high as from the head to the neckline of decline. So from 80 to about 40, we have about 40. So it's possible that we might get from the neckline down to almost 0. So that would be my target, and I expect the stock market will drag the Fear and Greed Index close to around 10, and that will be the time I am buying in. And right now we are bounce and revisiting the neckline. And if you take a look at the stock market, and this is why we have some bounce from the stock market in all three indexes. So this is Dow Jones. We make a lower low than this one. This is not a very good sign, because there's a possibility that Dow Jones is going into a downtrend right now. So we have a lower high, and we have a lower low than this one, and we have a lower high than this one. So this is a technical definition of the downtrend. But something interesting for the Dow Jones, from the RSI we have one touch point, and we are in the middle of forming the second touch point here. So it's possible that Dow Jones RSI can be break to the upside. However, the normal thing when we have two touch points for this kind of a resistance line, we will have a retest, and we will have a high possibility that this retest can result in a breakdown to the downside and then keep going up. And this will form a potential inverse head and shoulder pattern. This is the head, and this is shoulder, and this is another shoulder. And this is why I think in the midterm there is still a possibility for the stock market to keep crashing and form this another shoulder. Now let's take a look at Nasdaq. So Nasdaq has a better situation because it didn't make a lower low than this one. So this is a good sign. It's a possibility that the Nasdaq is forming a really huge bullish triangle, something like this. So it could bounce around in this triangle and go to the upside, but there's a possibility that it might also go down and then go to the downside like this. And which side will it go? It's probably a good question and probably a good answer from the United States election day. Depending on the results, we might have a huge dump and we might have a huge pump. I don't know at the moment. Now let's take a look at the RSI. We have just like the S&P 5, no, the Dow Jones, we have one touch point, and then we are in the process of forming the second one. As in the Dow Jones, it might have a breakout and then break down to the downside, it might also come back down, touch this line, and then come back down, form a third touch point. If we form a third touch point, it will be much bullish than if it break out to the upside directly, in my opinion. So if it break down and form a third touch point, normally that is really bullish. And when it break to the upside and retest it and then go up, that would be really bullish for the Nasdaq. Now let's take a look at the S&P 500. S&P 500 is very similar to the Nasdaq, but this line is relatively horizontal, and this make it a little bit bearish compared to the Nasdaq, because this might be forming a descending triangle, something like this. So there's a 75% of chance that this kind of horizontal movement might be forming a breakdown in the future. And this is also one of the reasons that I close 80% of my positions in the stock market, just as I mentioned in my previous video. So if you're interested that why I close 80% of my position in my stock market, please go back and look at my videos. Now the question is for you. What do you think of the United States election day? Do you think the election day will cause the stock market to crash to the downside? Or do you think the election day will pump the stock market or the cryptocurrency market to the upside in the midterm? Jump down to the comment section and let me know. Now it's time to take a look at gold and silver. Now in my previous video for the gold, we saw that gold have a triangle like this, and it starting to break out of this triangle, and right now it's retesting it and have a rebound, so that's a relatively bullish. However, the next move for gold is very important because it has to break to the upside and surpass 1934, because this will give it bullish momentum to the upside. Now if the gold cannot push the price above this level, it will be very bearish, because it might result in a selling from the bears. And if this selling pressure go to the downside like this, we will be going to this level at around $17 and $50, the support level here. But that would be very bullish for me, because I would be buying. Now let me adjust this line, because right now we can see something interesting happening. Let me put it something like this, and then connect all these points. Now you can see that we have 1 touch point, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touch points. So if gold can push above this line, that would be very bullish too for the gold price. And right now we are in the middle of doing that, and that looks very bullish. And recently we have this dump from about 1920 to around 1850. So but this dump didn't result in a lower low, so that is a good sign for the gold prices. And if you can break it to the upside, that will be very bullish. One uncertainty I want to mention is that right now for gold RSI, there's not much trend I can see, because no matter how I put this line, I cannot get a clear touch point. The only thing I can put is something like this. We have 1 touch point, 2 touch point, and then break out. But right now we are so far away from this line, so it doesn't really matter, I think. So what will happen next is very important for the gold prices. If we can go up, RSI can go up like this and form a second touch point, and then would be very interesting, because we are forming a really long term, not a really long term, but a mid-term touch point like this. We will have a bigger trend line and will be much more clear for the direction of the gold prices. Now if you take a look at the weekly, these touch points are much more clear, because right now we have 1 touch point, second touch point, and then breakout, and retest of this line and then bounce off. So this is relatively bullish for the weekly chart of gold. So because there's only 2 touch point, 1, 2, and then 3 here, I think there is a possibility for gold to repeat what it did like last time. It come down from here and then go up, and then come down from here, go up, and then come down from here and then go up again. That is totally possible. Now silver is in the relatively similar situation. So we have a huge pump to the upside and break this long-term resistance. And it has finished the first retest of this line, even though it didn't touch it, but this is a retest and we have a huge bounce like this. So in my previous video, I expected to keep going down like this, but I don't know if this will happen or not. So if you take a look at it, on the RSI, we have, let me adjust the color here. You can see that we have 1 touch point here, and then we are forming the second touch point at the moment. And because there's only 2 touch point here, so normally when the RSI break out from here, it will come down and retest this line. And the most bullish thing is that it break this line to the downside and then go up. That will be really bullish for the silver prices. But right now we don't know this will happen or not. We have to wait and see. And the question is for you. What do you think of the gold and silver prices? Do you think they will go up, or do you think they will go down after the election day? So jump down to the comment section and let me know. Now let's take a look at oil prices. The oil is forming something very interesting. In my previous video, we said that oil is forming a very bullish pattern, something like a W-shaped recovery. However, it got pushed down and make a lower low than the previous lows. That was bearish at first glance. But if you take a look at RSI, we have a lower low, but we have a higher low in the RSI. This is a bullish divergence, so it's a possibility that the oil price can keep pumping to the upside. So even though we have a lower low at the moment, the outlook for the oil prices is bullish in my opinion. Now let me remove this line and extend this line. You can see that this is very important line for the oil prices for the RSI. We have 1 touch point, 2, 3, 4, 5, a breakout, break down to the downside, resistance, and then breakout, and then go down again. Right now we are testing it for, I don't know, 1,000,000 times right now. So what will happen here will be very interesting for the oil prices. If it can go up, break this line, and then retest it again, and then rebounds, that will be very good for the oil prices in the midterm. So what do you think of the oil prices? Go down to the comment section and let me know. Alright, so that is the update for all the markets. My name is Crude. This is your trading and investing channel, Blockchain Thunder. Thank you guys so much to come back to the channel. And don't forget to click that like button and subscribe, so that I can bring you guys up-to-date information. I wish you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.